to. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Palm Springs International Airport Commission meeting. It's Wednesday, November 15th, and we are excited to have you all here to join us. So we'll start by having the pledge of allegiance. And Margaret, I ask you to lead it if you will, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you, Margaret. I neglected to just say that up top is delayed traffic, so we're gonna. It's not here. And so he'll take over when he. So let's get going. Christina, have we posted the agenda?
Yes, the agenda's been posted.
For those of you who are on Zoom, please unmute your microphones. Please, let's take a roll call.
Commissioner Banks,
Present.
Behrman,
Present.
Burke is excused, Caldwell,
Present.
Corcoran,
Present.
Dada is on his way, Delgado, Feltman,
Here.
Baum,
Present.
Hughes is excused, Martin,
Here.
Michaelis is excused, Park, here, Pye,
Here.
Suero,
Here.
Wise,
Here.
Wiseman,
Present.
Young.
Present.
Thank you, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Any changes need to be made to the agenda? All right, I need a motion then to accept the agenda, please. Second. Jan, thank you. All right. Christina?
We'll take a roll call vote. Banks,
Yes.
Behrman,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Dada. Oh, sorry. Feltman,
Yes.
Baum,
Aye.
Martin,
Yes.
Park. Yes. Pye,
Yes.
Suero,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Wiseman,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Thank you, it passes unanimously.
Thank you all. Christine, are there any public comments tonight?
We have no scheduled public comments for this evening. If there's anyone on Zoom that would like to raise their virtual Zoom hand at this time, we can take you for public comments. Please raise your virtual Zoom hand. Anyone in the conference room that would like to give public comment at this time? We do not have any public speakers for this evening.
Okay, with no public comments, we're going to move on to the approval of minutes. In the packet, the minutes from our meeting of June 21st. I'd like to have a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
We'll
Christina?
take a roll call vote. Banks,
Yes.
Behrman,
Abstain.
Caldwell,
Abstain.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Feltman,
Yes.
Baum,
Abstain.
Martin,
Abstain.
Park. Abstain. Pye,
Yes.
Suero,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Wiseman,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all for that. All right, we have an interesting agenda tonight. First up is the inline baggage handling system. It's a moment of clarification. Jeremy, you're leading this, is that right?
Yes, we have our consultant, ACOM, here that will be giving us a presentation.
Great.
Joining us virtually.
And just to confirm, we're talking about replacing the outgoing, or is this the proposal for the arrivals?
Yes, this is the outgoing system
Outgoing system.
behind the ticket counter.
Okay, thank you. Floor is yours.
All right, Ryan, are you?
Brian,
on?
you can unmute yourself and share your screen. Do you want to introduce yourself first?
Sure. Thanks everyone for your time. Ryan Evers, AECom. I'm the program director for our baggage system projects in the West region. We've been working on a project with the aviation staff to provide adequate inline screening for the existing baggage demand and future-proof a new bag system that will last into the future. So what we have today is a schematic design for a proposal that meets those requirements. And I'm looking for share screen. Okay, let me see. I'm not sure if Michael Monis, he's my our senior architect on the call, and he's done the bulk of the legwork of the items I think we want to talk to tonight. So if Michael's on, he might want to introduce himself while I pull up the presentation.
Yeah, hi, I'm here. Mike Monis, Senior Associate Designer with AECom in the Los Angeles office. I've been mostly working on the sort of building shell and exterior conceptually at the moment.
So what we did in order to make sure that we could fix it once, fix it right, and fix it for the long term, is we looked at the master plan and we looked at the TSA standard calculation methodology for how we size one of these systems, and we identified a system size for a master plan forecast, 15 years. 15 years based on the date of beneficial use for TSA, and then going out 20 years in the master plan forecast out to 2042. Using the master plan growth calculations. What that means is we need a system that can handle a pretty good quantity of bags, somewhere nearing 2,000 bags an hour in the final deployment. That requires quite a bit of space. We're very severely constrained here in the area of the existing terminal. That makes the most sense to I would say expand the existing or look at a purpose-built facility. And knowing that we have a historical component to this existing facility, the team decided to look at a purpose-built standalone facility to handle the TSA screening function so that we could make a room that doesn't necessarily need to be occupied space for people, but could be designed to perform one function and perform it well and efficiently, as well as provide future proofing and growth. What you're seeing on the screen is a base concept of a fully redundant bag system that will last, for today's demand and all the way out to those previous years that were discussed. Before I move on, is there any questions so far on this? Okay. In order to support your passenger activity level growth, we're looking at, since we are touching the baggage system, in a major component of outbound also is the sortation of the outbound for the carriers. We currently have 3 carousels. The space chosen for the new building is going to require to relocate one of those existing 3 carousels. And we wanted to look at what would it take in order to get all the cart staging for your carriers with the planned growth out into that 2042 horizon. Again, looking for a common one-stop, let's fix this and let it run and be reliable. So it's kind of a spatial study here. You can see what it would take in order for us to get those carousels, tie them into a system that's centrally located where those existing ticket counters are. There is a component. We have TSA as a partner in the design under an OTA, another transaction agreement, where they're providing some funding, I think, in a cost share agreement that was negotiated with the airport. Likewise, they will come to the table with funding for PSP to put in a new inline bag system. The existing system at PSP is considered what they call standalone. It's not integrated. There's no computer controlled conveyors handing the bag to the screening machine and then rendering a decision and tracking the bag through all the various inspection points with that status. So by putting one of these types of systems with this level of technology, the TSA will come on board and will pay for a portion of those yellow conveyors that are within colored in this drawing. And with regards to the facility mod, we'd call that a FAC mod OTA. The area in orange is generally also available for TSA funding, not for the core and shell, but for the components inside. The mechanical, electrical, and plumbing requirements needed to operate the equipment in this specific area would be considered reimbursable under the cost share agreement. That's the highlight condensed version of what we've been working on since mid-June. There's been a lot of numbers. There's 50 pages of analysis of the growth and how we're going to get there. But to summarize it, that's where we're at. And I think what I was about to do is hand it off to Michael, who's going to talk about how we treated the architectural component, given the importance of it for this terminal and for the city. So is there any technical questions on the baggage portion? I'd be more than happy to entertain them at this point.
Questions? Okay, keep going.
Commissioner Young, you have a question?
Yes. Ryan, thanks for that information. When you use the term redundant in the presentation, do you simply mean, I mean, it looked like the plan allowed for one or more components of the system to be down and to still operate. Is that what you meant by redundant, or was there another meaning?
Yeah, so one of the big catchphrases you'll hear in a baggage program is single points of failure. So you can see we have a 3D isometric view in the right-hand corner of the screen if you're seeing slide 3. What we did is the blue conveyors are what ties into the ticketing counters and the curbsides. So we came up with a solution where we have double stacked conveyors with 3 of your inputs. You have an odd number of inputs. You have 7 of them, 2 ticket counters, 5 curbsides. So what we're trying to do is come up with a balanced connectivity where 3 of those are tied to 1 ticket counter takeaway line, and the other 3 are tied to another. And those they stay as unique separate conveyor lines until just upstream of the EDS machine. We put them through a vertical merge unit that takes 2 lines and puts it into one just upstream of the machine. Additionally, what we would do is we would use a power redundancy where we would have a main power feed, and we'd likely have fully redundant on a genset to a transfer switch. So and then that would split into 2 panel boards. And what that means is if we had an accident, somebody ran into one of the primary conduit pipes, or we lost a panel board, we would never be down more than half the system. And the goal is, even if we lose half the system, we still maintained a portion of the curbside, a portion of the ticket counter, a portion of the screening area, and a substantial portion of the sortation area. So although we can't ever get rid of all single points of failure, we can get rid of those most common elements that we see when we design baggage systems.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, Ryan, you can continue.
Okay. Michael, I'm going to hand it off to you. Just let me know when you would like me to advance the slide, sir.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so just this slide, just talking about, we understand that the terminal is a historic building, and we have an historian on board to make sure that we meet any requirements. But as Ryan said, the decision was made to do a standalone building, so we are not the building you'll see next is not part of the main structure. It's a separate standalone building just for the baggage claim. Ryan, you can go ahead. So we looked at we're very early on looking at just 2 different options of what the character of the building could look like. You only see, the public only sees one facade of this building, the one you can see in the rendering. There's another slide that I'll point out exactly where you can see the building from if you're the public. So what we looked at is, yeah, Ryan, actually, if you can just go directly to that one, and because it shows both options. So you can see up in the top
So
center.
this
the
side by
blue-
side was, sorry to interrupt, Michael, but this side by side was not presented in the commission packet, so my apologies, this came to me today. So you will not find this in your packet. Sorry, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, just wanted to include one slide that had both options so you could see them side by side and if you had any questions. But basically the public can view this from the bridge that Ryan's highlighting right now on the outdoor concourse area. And that's really the only spot that the public sees the building. So we focused on that elevation. Both options, basically, I'd say a slightly more economical version and a slightly more expensive version. We took elements of the existing historical building, but tried not to copy that, but wanted to reach back to it as well as use the materials and the color schemes of the exterior concourse from where you'll be seeing the building. So the building feels part of the exterior area where you see it, but it also reaches back a little to the existing historical terminal. So in this option, you have a clear story at the top in order to get some natural light into the building for the people that are in there. Cut down on the need for lighting during the day. This would only be this facade would be like this. The other three facades that are next to buildings and you don't see would be more of just a solid finish. The clear story would only be on this elevation. And then the canopy mimics as well sort of the shapes and ideas of the historical building. Ryan, if you can go, and you can tell here the building materials are similar to the stone and stucco that make up the building and the architectural look of the exterior concourse. You go to the next slide. So this slightly different roof, but again, sort of using the same sort of architectural language as the existing historical building. But in this, we have no clear story. It's more of a plain wall that's similar to the architecture on the exterior concourse. This allows you to also either keep it as a plain wall like this, or add any kind of graphics or advertising to it as well, if you felt that was something you'd like to do. And again, the canopy is the same as the first alternative. There is a difference in the canopies though. Ryan, you go to the next slide. We're also still looking at whether we introduce one large canopy that covers all four of the carousels together, or keeping two long canopies. This allows for, again, a more economical version, less materials, but the large canopy provides more shading for the area with no gaps in between. The building itself, as Ryan mentioned, mostly holds the conveyor system along with some offices, control room, and different MEP rooms as well. It sort of takes on that slightly odd shape in order to fit into the space required. We've got some distances that we need to maintain between the existing buildings for access. So made the building as large as we could to accommodate the conveyors without encroaching on those areas. So you can see, depending on the building, because the conveyor system, there's still two versions being looked at. One of the buildings is 7,400 square feet, and the other one is about 8,000 square feet. So I'll stop there. If you could zoom out for the whole slide, Ryan, and see if anyone has any questions
I have a
or
question.
comments. We would like some input. Again, we're very early stages of this and looking for some thoughts on the architectural character.
Go ahead.
Yeah, 1 second, Jeremy.
Oh, I was just gonna say, apologize, I did not introduce Jacob. Jacob is our maintenance superintendent for the airport, just in case you see Jacob in here, he's here to help answer any questions, if you've not met Jacob before.
Well, Jacob.
Commissioner Fong?
With respect to alternative, I guess alternative 1 and 2, you had indicated that one is more expensive than the other, and that one provides more shade or cover than the other. Without displaying totally my ignorance, which of these two?
Yeah, the one on the left would be the full roof, and the one on the right, see how it has 2 separate roofs. And that's basically just for the baggage carousels.
Understood, and which one of those is more expensive than the other?
I'm guessing the one on the left that has the full roof is probably the more expensive of the 2, but I'm not really sure. I mean, I know for,
That's
Yeah,
correct. And they're interchangeable. If you wanted the.
yeah, exactly. So
Go ahead.
the canopy decision, whether it's 1 or 2, is interchangeable with the facade elevations for 1 and 2. It's just showing multiple options for either the canopy or the building.
So let me be clear again. Alternative 1 is estimated to be more expensive than alternative 2.
Yes.
possibly slightly, but remember, really what we're focused on today is not so much which roof to select. It's really on the architectural renderings, one of the alternatives, and that's really what we're bringing here is to get feedback from you all on kind of what you would like to see, one with the windows, one with the not, in terms of the view from the public. So that's really the main purpose of bringing this, not so much any of the other elements as much because that's still being worked out.
Right, I will follow my question by simply saying that architecturally, there's one concern which is architectural, and the other one which is cost. And the third one, which in my view is important, is that there are people who are going to be working under these canopies. It's 115 degrees outside. I want them to have as much cover as possible.
Absolutely, and staff's recommendation is to choose the full.
That
Yes.
the architecture is nice, but within the architecture question to me is the issue of who gets better protection, given that they're working.
Right, absolutely.
So I have a
It's an
question.
architectural.
Go ahead, Commissioner Wiseman.
Yeah, inside the building where we're picking between windows or no windows, do we have any idea approximately how many people are working inside that building on a regular basis?
I can take that one. That's a great question. I know it may be a little bit small, but you'll see there's an orange portion of the facilities shown in the bottom left corner of each one of the alternatives. What that is one is a room for the operations and control room. That's the operator who sits at a SCADA screen and dispatches when there's a jam. There's typically 2 workstations plus a supervisor station. You end up with a maximum of 3 to 4 people in there to clear jams. It's a fully automated system from startup to shutdown each day, but we do keep about 4 people in there. You can usually get away with 1 or 2 in low periods of time. There's also a space for TSA. What this system does is it integrates all 4 of these machines, or 3 at the initial deployment. And when it takes the 3D scanned image, it puts it into a network. And then those images are distributed to what we call OSR operators. It's on-screen resolution. These are remote TSA staff that sit in a room and clear jams. For a system of this size, you would need 4 to 6, but in 2042. Between those 2 staff locations in the corner, I think you would be looking at 8 to 10 people maximum probably more in the 6 to 7 range, typically.
And
Yeah.
in their typical workplace location, would they be experiencing the benefits of the natural light, or are they in an office within the building?
They're in an office. They're in an office environment. The area with the open EDS areas from a maintenance standpoint, that's where the benefit would be. In the morning, they go in and they do an IQT test, image quality test. They test each machine. So there are people in there on and off. And then you obviously have your preventative maintenance schedule where you have your nightly and your daily PMs and your check rounds. But the gray area with the machines, once they get up and running, it's not a staffed area. It's an area you're dispatched to for maintenance, and it's typically coded that way as well.
One thing we would look at as well in terms of the glazing versus no glazing is, getting light in there could diminish the need for lighting inside the building during the day. You would still need some, but you would cut cost on having the building fully lit during most of the day. You could use the natural light for the lighting inside the building.
Do we have any clue how it impacts the cooling costs of the building during the summer?
Not yet. There will be an overhang, and the thought would be that there'd also be that potentially the glass would be frosted and help that as well. But we haven't started calculations yet on the difference between having it and not having it for HVAC.
Commissioner Feldman, you have a question, and then we'll go to Commissioner Behrman.
Yeah, can you just remind us how this intersects with the various terminal proposals in the long-term master plan?
Yeah, that I asked that question in my last master plan meeting. It's a good question. They coexist in harmony. We compared these. We worked with the master plan team, and we did some overlays, and we made sure that the development of the master plan objectives would not be impacted by this, and that the two items could coexist throughout their evolution. So it was looked at, and this space was not a primarily allocated space for any of the master plans projects.
Can I just build on that question for a second too? If you're designing this to meet the demands in our 20-year long-range plan, what happens if we pick option 3, which is building a whole new airport? Is any of this equipment, would we move it to option 3, or would we have to start over?
If you build a brand new airport adjacent to the existing terminal, typically a new system's put in and designed to fit within that space as part of the design process of the new terminal.
And keep in mind too, over the next 2 to 3 months, we're probably gonna know what concept we're gonna choose, right?
Yeah.
And we're not talking about building this until starting next summer. So
if we go with option 3, we would postpone this. So you're looking tonight for a recommendation about the architectural design, but that's all subject to what happens in the long range plan, correct? Okay.
Commissioner Behrman?
I have heard the term jam used several times, and I'm assuming that is not a baggage jam. But my question is, where does a bag go to that is a suspect bag that actually has to be physically cleared? What is the process for that in this system?
All right, no, this is right up my alley. This is the thing I love this is what I love to talk about. So stop
Ryan
me.
could talk about hours. Ryan, keep it to 5 minutes or less.
Okay, you got it. So the route of an inline system bag is down the blue conveyors to the yellow conveyors, which is level 1 screening, where the CAT scan is captured. Where you see orange conveyors, we have double stacks, we split them. The machine clears approximately 80% of the bags at level 1 and sends them out on the green lines to the sort area immediately. Bags that fail that 20% of your bags that fail at the level 1 machine are routed on the upper orange line, and they travel at a predetermined speed that allows the people in the OSR room 45 seconds to review the CAT scan image and say, oh, this is so-and-so, this is just a jar of peanut butter. And the operator can say, this is a clear bag, and the bag will be diverted back into out to the sort area. If the operator is unable to clear it, imagine the bag is now on the orange line, it's wrapping its way back around inside the terminal, and it hits this red line. If the operator has not remotely cleared the threat by that time, the bag is sorted on the red line down to what we call the level 3 CBRA, the checked baggage resolution area. Inside this room, TSA agents remove the threat bag, place it at a workstation, scan the IATA 10-digit bag tag. That pops the CAT scan image up on their screen, and they're then able to do what we call a directed search. The image shows them the threat item that wasn't cleared at level 1 and level 2 is in the upper right-hand corner of the bag. They go into that area, they clear the threat, they do a trace ETD swab in that area. When that goes clear, they place the bag onto the green belt using a no lift solution, and it automatically sorts. If they are not able to clear it at level 3, there's an explosive ordnance disposal process that will be coordinated with the local law enforcement. Typically, they go into a specific container that is located here at the airport, a threat disposal unit, we call it a TCU, threat containment. They take it to a pre-designated spot, report off the runway somewhere, according to their local protocols, which typically they detonate the item, right? If it was to happen, God forbid. But that's the process and thought of an inline system.
Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Hi, yeah, thanks. I have what may be a dumb question, but I'll attribute it to being a newbie on the commission. That open canopy area, what exactly is that? You mentioned carousels. What is that for? And why are we having something open with heat, wind, and dust? I'm just not following the logic.
Okay, so once the bag has been cleared and it's going out, before the bag goes on the plane, it's sorted based on carrier. So if you're flying on United, or if you're flying on American, or if you're flying on Southwest, et cetera, the bag is sorted to a predetermined location where there's a carousel, very similar to what we have at baggage claim when you go to retrieve your bag. But this is out on the air side. And the carriers show up with carts and tugs, and they load the baggage onto the carts, and then they drive it out to the airplane and load it into the belly of the plane. So it's an area that has high tug traffic. Sometimes it's in basements. It takes up a lot of room. Each one of these carousels is over 100 feet long, so it's a rather large area to try and fully enclose. Certain wintry environments will put it in an enclosed area, and they will provide some minimal heating in the winter. But it's a football field of space, more or less. And what happens is the ramp operators all day long are pulling bags on assigned flights, running them out, and then coming back. So giving them some shade is a great idea. Sometimes they'll put misters and coolers in certain locations, where it's appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? So you're really just looking for, do we want the windows or we don't want the windows?
Basically,
Is that the
yes.
bottom line?
Yes.
Fine. How would you like to handle this vote?
We can do basically a roll call vote through the commissioners to see if they want to vote on 1 or 2.
Windows, no windows. Would that be helpful?
So
We're able to do that on there.
alternative 1 is windows. Can we go
yeah.
back to alternates?
Go back to also, yeah.
We'll just make one windows.
Okay,
Windows,
so-
no windows. Everybody understand that?
I have one quick question.
Sure.
The staff recommendation. As we want to.
Good question. Maybe that might be for Jacob.
Staff would actually recommend going with the windows. We believe that the reduced power consumption from the lighting would actually probably reduce the overall cost of ownership of the system over the course of 15 years versus the added heat load from having windows there. Modern windows, they're nitrogen filled, double pane, are actually pretty good at insulating at this point. So by reducing the amount of light inside, we're fairly sure we can reduce the overall cost of ownership. Maybe not by a huge amount, but it's a savings.
Thank you for that.
Also positive for sustainability.
So then, given staff recommendation, that would be alternative one?
Correct.
Correct. So maybe we should frame the vote
For one,
for one.
Okay.
Since we have the staff thing, and thank you for that, it's a great point. So I need a motion that our recommendation is, that's what I should say. Could we move forward with the windows, which is option one? Did someone make that motion, please?
I make the recommendation that we opt for option number one.
Second, all right, Christina?
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Behrman,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Feltman,
Yes,
Fong,
Aye.
Martin,
Abstain.
Park. Yes. Pie. Yes. Suero,
yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Wiseman,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
The motion passes. Thank you.
Before we move on to the next topic, for those of you who are new commissioners, we just wanted to give you just a little bit of history. Maybe we should have started with this, but it leads to a question. We had a new baggage system that was put into the airport in 19, or it was 18 or 19.
You know what it was?
2020 to 2021, commissioned in late 2021.
Okay. And that baggage system failed. And went through all sorts of process, like we always do about requirements when it doesn't fail. And then the city was in the process of going after the manufacturer, whoever, the contractor who did that work. Does anybody have an update on what's ever happened to that?
Still in process.
All right, we're still in the legal process to get that money back.
Yeah.
All right. There was just for history, there was a lot of discussion around that investment and major disappointments when it was installed and it didn't work. And so that's why we're at the point we are now. And had a couple of band-aids we put on the system just to get us through this last two seasons. So this would be the answer to that. And we're still waiting for some sort of feedback from the city attorney in terms of what happened. And did the city go after the contract? All right, anything else to share about that, Jeremy?
No, I think that was good.
Okay,
Thank you, Ryan and Michael. You can stop sharing your screen now, please.
thank you guys, that was helpful.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your time.
All right, you all remembered our last meeting?
Commissioner Martin, do you have a question?
Yeah, and I don't want to be difficult. The reason I abstained was I'm struggling with this concept of approving things without really understanding the financial implications. You know, the windows might add, $50,000 to the construction cost, or does it add $5 million to the construction? We really don't know. And so we're giving guidance, and we're doing that on the master plan as well. I feel like we don't know really what the cost implications of these decisions are, but we're being asked to make decisions without that knowledge. Am I missing something? Maybe help me out.
Jeremy, at the risk of jumping in,
Yeah,
I can tell you that we do have a professional estimator on our team, Leland Saylor, who is running ROM estimates as required. TSA has a strict process since we're using some of their money for this design. So we are creating a round one schematic design estimate for the alternatives presented as required. We didn't get all of the information back from them that we needed in order to get it to you guys in the pre-read. We haven't been able to include the 2 canopy options yet, and that's the piece of information we're looking for. We're going through our back checks, and then we wanted to share it with the airport, with Jeremy and Jacob, and make sure that we were in line with those numbers. So
Yeah, and our plan is to come back to you all once we move further down the design. So this was a key piece that we really needed to identify and make a decision on to move forward.
Commissioner Young, you have a question?
Yes, just want to follow up with Commissioner Corcoran's question, which I also had shared, or shared the question. The presumption is that if we were to select alternative 3 in our process the next couple of months, that this stops this process fully. Is that the assumption we're operating under? And if that were to be correct, does that then return us to look at alternate solutions to improve the current bag situation during that presumptively long interval until option 3 was selected? Is that a correct understanding, or?
Yeah, maybe we should have talked about that beginning, and Brian and Jacob, I don't know how much you've already talked with Harry about that, but our current system has to be fixed immediately. Actually, it needed to be fixed last year, and we're limping along. So there is an element of this that we have to fix no matter what. And we're really not going to be able to wait 10, 15 years for a new terminal to be built. So Ryan, I don't know if you've had any further discussion with Harry or the team, but you know, we need it, and it has to happen no matter what, because we're currently moving bags manually with staff, and we're spending close to $500,000-$600,000 a year to help do that, and it's you know, it's not an efficient way of doing things the way we're doing. On Monday I was down there moving bags with the staff for 2 hours.
So if we decide and if council approves option 3, the scope of what's being proposed tonight, the 20-year vision, would change. So you're saying we got to fix this one way or another, but it's not going to have all the bells and whistles in the capacity.
I'm sure it could be pared down.
Yeah, pared down so that option 3 would be a whole new system.
Right.
All right. Does that help?
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
We have evaluated, you know, based on the request of the airport, the ability to still comply with the TSA's requirement to maintain, but to be a less robust system, right? That doesn't have the long-term redundancy. So we do have something for that if it's necessary. We've looked at that.
Commissioner Feldman, you have a question?
Yeah, so if we proceed with option 3, and even if we don't, what's the construction timeline for this building? Is this building and the equipment therein, will it take 6 months, a year, 2 years? What's the timeline for construction for a building of this nature?
The building, the installation of the system, and the commissioning and testing to make sure that everything's going right typically takes 20 to 24 months.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Very frustrating. Anyways, any other questions on that? Okay to move on? Measure J.
Sure, I can talk about Measure J. We were really, I think we only really added this on the agenda because of our discussion the previous meeting, and the Measure J commission meeting is tomorrow night, which David and myself will be presenting a short presentation of the 4 projects that we voted on last time. So I don't know if there's any more that you want to discuss at this point, but we talked about it last meeting, and we're just waiting for the commission.
We just wanted you all to know that the next step was to take the 4 recommendations. It's tomorrow night. David's going to represent us and Jeremy to the commission. I had an opportunity to meet with the chair and Naomi and to give her a heads up on the thought process that led us to land on those 4 suggestions. So she's been briefed, and David will take the lead in kind of providing any rationale with Jeremy's backup. So that's all going to happen tomorrow. And with their blessing, then we move forward.
And we try to figure out the plan moving forward.
And we try to get these things done. All right. Any questions?
I think they have to go to the city council after the Measure J.
Yeah, they do. They do. It won't make the December calendar, but it'll make change. Any questions on that? We're good? All right, financial summary, Victoria.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just gonna do a really quick highlight of the 4 different funds that we have, and then if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. So for our Fund 405, which is our customer facility charges, we had a net surplus of about $1 million. Our passenger facility charges in Fund 410 also had a net surplus of $1 million. Our airport operation and maintenance Fund 415 had a net surplus of 1.8 million. And then our capital projects fund had a deficit of 2.7 million. And that's primarily because we have a lot of projects that are happening right now. So we're paying all of those invoices. Some of the projects include like our airport master planning process, our AECom with the baggage handling system, and our taxiway rehabilitation that we have going on, airport hotspot studies, and just some other aircraft parking resurveying. So in this fund here, we typically request drawdowns from the FAA for any grant funded projects, and that happens on a quarterly basis. So we typically do that right around December. So we'll see that all of our we'll see some money come in, some revenue come into this fund. And then we'll also do a request to move some funds from our Fund 415 account just to make sure that we have enough cash flow in there to start supporting all of our invoices that are coming through. So I'm working closely with finance, so they're aware that whenever we have to make that transfer from Fund 415 into Fund 416, they're aware that we're going to be doing that very shortly. So we're monitoring that very closely here. If anybody has any questions, I'd be able to answer any questions that you have.
So when you say the first 3 funds were $1 million over, we're in good shape.
We're in good shape.
So we are ahead of our budget.
Yes.
So no red flags.
No red flags right now. No.
Other questions? Okay. Let's move on. Concessions update.
Okay. I think we were asked from last time to this time to provide an additional sheet, which I included in your packet there. I think it's included somewhere. So you'll see the, yeah, that sheet is new. You should also see the concession schedule, which shows the opening dates of the projected opening dates of the concessions. What you'll see on the sheet that I provided to you is essentially you wanted to know the permit status of everything that's currently sitting waiting for permit. So if you notice, you'll see down the list there, you'll see almost everything is expected to start in December. And then I added some notes there. You'll see some permit numbers just so, you know, I just included that so you see, you know, where everything is in the process. For the most part, all of the retail space has been ready to permit, and all we're waiting there is for a contractor. Unfortunately, the permits can't be issued until there's a contractor on board. And what both Parodies and MRG are struggling with right now is finding bidders, unfortunately.
I was really surprised that most of these projects don't have contractors.
It probably as of today, they probably do. They've been working on the last couple months trying to we've been escorting people in and out, companies to try to, they've had bidders fall out and say, we don't want it. It's not worth it for us. Locals are not bidding on it. They're having to get bidders from out of the area, out of the state, people, you know, companies that they're used to doing work with at other airports. So they're really struggling with that, but we feel pretty confident that they're getting close to selecting each one, Parodies and MRG, and selecting their bidder, their preferred contractors. So we feel pretty confident that these projects are going to start here sometime in the December timeframe. What that does a little bit is it scoots out a couple of the openings, but not by much. I mean, you know, we weren't going to expect to open majority of the concessions until the tail end of the season anyway. And so, you know, shifting it a few weeks is not, you know, doesn't really do much, but we really don't have any control over it. It's just the nature of I guess there's just it's hard to find really good contractors that want to do some of this work right now, so.
Commissioner Feltman, Commissioner Feltman, you have a question?
Yeah, I mean, you just said it, Jeremy, it's hard to find contractors, but it's hard to imagine that we can't find anybody. Is there a cost reason for this? You know, it feels like this is a issue that we were experiencing like in the year after the pandemic, but we're kind of 2 years out. Is there more color to why this is happening?
Yeah, again, remember, they're not our projects that we're bidding out. These are the, private companies that are pushing these out. I don't know the specific, reasons. I really haven't asked because they've had to go to a second round and now they've actually had to reach out to companies rather than, do it however they advertise it through their normal networks. And because they weren't getting any, bidders that way, they've had to do a lot of reach out. And so now that they've done a lot of reach out, because they were trying to do it for the local companies, and they just weren't getting any local vendors that had interest. And so that's why they started reaching out. Now they're getting a lot more interest. So we've walked around with 5 or 6 contractors for each vendor, so they're pretty confident that they're reviewing all those documents right now, and they should be selecting a vendor, like I said here, momentarily.
Thank you.
Other questions on concessions, Kevin?
Yeah, I think, the one that concerns me a little bit is the new opening date I'm seeing for Mirasol and Coachella Valley Coffee. Because I just wonder if we're going to survive peak season from a morning coffee perspective based on the layout I'm looking at now.
Yeah, remember, we still have PSP Coffee open, right? That's not closing, and right now we don't even have the El Mirasol, so we're surviving. We've survived the last couple of seasons with what we currently have. Nothing is closed there, right? So El Mirasol is just, new. It's going to be gravy for us once we get it on, and then actually, get both of them operating at the same time. But there's nothing, there's nothing else we can do at this point to have anything additional.
Okay. And does that date for Mirasol, is the commissary inside of it going to be done sooner?
The commissary is done a little bit sooner yet, because they got a kind of a head start on the commissary, but it's really all one project. It's really all one project, because you're not gonna open the commissary. If you open the commissary early, that doesn't do anything. You still gotta have the front of the house open, right? So, and remember, we still have Half Moon Empanadas that's out there selling coffee. We have Santa Rosa that's selling coffee. We have coffee down at the RJ. We have coffee at PSP. So we have plenty of places to get coffee.
Okay.
Other questions? Okay. Airport Commission meetings, Christina.
So the calendar for 2024 for the commission meetings, the regularly scheduled meetings, which is the 3rd Wednesday of each month at 5:30, is in your packet. The only change to it is that the Juneteenth holiday falls on a commission meeting, so we have proposed that the meeting be held the Tuesday before that date. That is the only change. Does anyone have any questions?
Can we send calendar invites to the commission on all these, so these is locked into our calendars?
Sure.
That'll be helpful. Nice. All right, no questions on that?
Yeah, no, I have a question.
David?
Yeah, you said at one point to hold December 6th, as long as we're on calendaring matters. Are we still holding December 6th?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll take a vote to approve the 2024 Airport Commission meeting schedule. Can I have a motion, please? Thank you.
All in favor?
Roll call, Banks,
Yes.
Behrman,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Feldman, Feltman, you're muted.
Yes,
Fong,
Aye.
Martin,
Yes.
Hart. Yes. Hi,
Yes.
Suero,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Wiseman,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, the marketing update. Daniel's not here. Is there any commentary that staff wants to make about the update?
I don't think so, unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions about the marketing update that was handed in your packets? All right, with no comments, let's move forward to commissioners' requests and reports. I'll start. Just wanted to acknowledge that the Palm Springs Air Museum received the Visitors Experience Award from Greater Palm Springs. CDB, their annual industry awards gala was held down in Rancho Mirage. Scott White and team recognized the Air Museum. We're thrilled with that recognition and to really acknowledge the docents, the staff, the board of contractors, design professionals, all get credit for how the Air Museum is evolving, and they deserve this recognition. So congratulations to the Air Museum, and we're thrilled with their efforts and glad they're being recognized. Are there any other commissioner comments or reports? Anything else we need to get into? Anyone? Oh, one more thing. Just a heads up that Gerald Adams has resigned from the commission. On behalf of the commission, Gerald, I just want to thank you for the service you brought to the commission. And we look forward to keeping you and the family moving forward. That's all I'm going to say. Anyways, Gerald, so thank you, Gerald, for your time. More to come on that. Christine, anything on city council actions?
Actually, I think Commissioner Feldman, do you have a comment or for this item, or did you just still have your hand up
no,
there?
I forgot to lower my hand, sorry.
Okay, no problem.
All right, good.
Did you want to note the award?
I just did.
Oh, sorry, I missed it. Trying to send myself.
Beautiful acknowledgement. I can't believe you missed it. Yeah.
Dang it, sorry.
All right.
I was telling myself to send the calendar invite, sorry.
Secretary Worker did a fabulous. Let's get those in the notes. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, future committee meetings. We've had, I'm not sure without op top here, we're probably gonna delay. There's some openings in some of our subcommittees that we want to fill, but let's postpone to December and let off top do some work on this. And what I would say is, if some of you, especially the new commissioners, have interest in some of these committees that you've not been appointed to, especially the budget committee, I think is one where we need a lot of support. Please send a note to Christina, and off top and I will look at that, and we'll provide an update in our December 6th meeting.
So it's an opening for the marketing committee, the budget finance committee, and the ad hoc design review committee, which is not currently holding meetings, but there's possibility there could be another one in the future. So those are the openings right now.
Yeah, we have to clean that up, and we'll do it in December. All right, I think we're almost done. Let's just talk quickly about December 6th. Right now, we have in our calendars 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And Jeremy, you just want to give the commission just a heads up in terms of what's being planned for how we're going to use that time?
Yeah, I think the most of that time is going to be spent, looking at what you all met about last year. I wasn't here for that, but a lot of it is, going to be project based to kind of look at, what we had scheduled, what we were said we were going to kind of, make some progress on, and looking at that, and then looking at the projects, moving forward.
Okay, and also the long range plan.
And yeah.
Okay. Just a heads up that Op top and I are going to meet with staff on the 1st to review the agenda for this and just see how the timing is breaking out. And we'll provide that feedback in terms of a stronger agenda long before the 6th. But we appreciate your willingness to join us for an extended meeting to see where we've left, what progress we've made since our meeting last September, of last year. And then what are the implications of the long range plan based on we're kind of halfway through to this point, get everybody up to speed and on the same page. Are there any comments or questions before we wrap up? I just want to thank you again for your time and commitment to the commission. Thank you, Christina, for all the work and staff for helping us out. And we don't need a motion to adjourn, but have a great holiday and we'll see you on December 6th. Thanks all.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.